people are going to have to make, and they've got assistance and help to make sure that they can get first-class education, the world-class education that they deserve. We're going to have to improve our math and science training so that we can create the sort of technological jobs that are going to be needed for the future. We know that's going to be what's required. We know that we have an energy crisis brought about by inaction at the federal level. That not only does it hit us in the pocketbook every time gas goes up, every time the world stock market goes up. You can't fill up your tank without basically putting a little more money into some of the most profitable companies on earth. But we also know we're sending $800 million to some of the most hostile nations on us. So we end up, as a consequence of our dependence on foreign oil, financing both sides of the war on terrorism. And we understand that in the bargain, we are also creating a situation in which, because of the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, we may be threatening the very future of the planet. And we have a situation. And most of all, we recognize that we suffer very real threats after 9/11. I don't think any of us would deny that we've got to craft a national security strategy that meets the challenges of the 21st century, that we've got real enemies that we have to confront. Well, I think most of us also recognize that we are now in the midst of a war that should have never been authorized. Unless we bring that war to a close, we cannot deal with all those other problems that I just mentioned. Not only has it resulted in the tragic loss of our extraordinarily brave soldiers, it's also meant that we've been spending $400 billion on a rebuilding process in Iraq. We could have been spent to rebuild communities here in New Hampshire and all that I'm sure we'll talk about in this town hall meeting about how to address it. We know, for example, that with respect to healthcare, if we implement some basic policies to control costs by making sure that children are going and getting primary care instead of ending up in the emergency room for treatable illnesses like asthma, that will save money. We know that 20% of the patients in our healthcare system account for 80% of the cost, and a lot of those are chronic care patients. They may have diabetes or other ailments that if you provide them regular treatment, you can actually control the cost. If you don't, the cost skyrockets. We know that the administrative costs and the bureaucracy and paperwork that results from a paper-based healthcare system probably ratchets up our costs by 5–10% that we could immediately recapture. If we took all those savings and we now apply it to those people who don't have health insurance to provide them access to affordable, accessible health care, not only would the system be more efficient, but people actually would get better bang for their health care dollars. We know that. We also know that on the energy front, there are alternative fuels that are available right now on the shelf. Right now. That we can use to make our cars more efficient, to make our buildings more efficient, to make our homes more efficient. We could drastically reduce our consumption of oil. It would make us more secure. It would prevent us from having to engage in some of the conflict areas of the world in the ways that we're doing right now. It would give us more leverage in our national education works. We know that we need to recruit more teachers, and if we pay them more and give them more flexibility. And we understand that the only way to solve that bloodshed that's taking place right now is to arrive at a political combination. There is not a military solution to that sectarian civil war. Somebody said George Bush, it's not just George Bush. It goes beyond that. What's stopping us is a politics that is confined to a set of insiders, lobbyists and special interests who are setting the agenda, but also what's stopping us is cynicism. Because a lot of us have stopped believing that politics actually can make a difference. We think politics has become a business instead of a mission. And that power in Washington is always going to trump principle. And that there's not much we can do about it. The reason I'm running for president is because I think I've got some good solutions to the problems we face, but along with that, I think that this room, this auditorium, reflects the fact that America has woken up. It is interested in what's going on in the country. It wants to be involved. It wants to be engaged. I think people are tired of the artificial divisions. I think they're tired of the artificial divisions. I think they are tired of the trivialization of politics, so that it's all about who makes a gaffe or who, how a candidate looks in his bathing suit, or, they're tired of the silly season. They're tired of the ideology. They want a return to a common sense, practical agenda for solving problems. That's what people are looking for. That's what young people are looking for. And so, what I hope this campaign becomes is a vehicle for your hopes and dreams. That it's not just about me. I think I can lead this country, but I can't lead this country alone. Nobody can. The country is too big and too diverse, and the challenges that we face are extraordinary. So what we can do is come together across the multiple divisions that we've seen over the last several years and start making progress. And that's what I'm hoping at the end of this process we will be all about. Come together and start solving problems. So with that, let me stop and let's start answering some questions.